Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Get Crackin' on Christmas. It is spooky season, though. I'm sporting my sweatshirt that I absolutely love, but don't get to wear it very often. Um, and it doesn't feel like the end of October because here on Cape Cod, we're going to get close to the 70s today. Hello. And we were close to the 70s yesterday as well. So I've got the windows open. I've got the glow of the foliage out my window. I love to see that. It's been exciting to see the trees change because this is our first fall season in our new home. So it's just kind of cool to see the different seasons. It's like a little surprise. So thank you so much. Annie was chatting in the comments about how she enjoyed my little Halloween tour over on Instagram. It was really fun. I have always loved Halloween, and we decorated a little bit in our old home that we rented, but it's a little bit more special now that this is our home. So thank you so much. And yes, lots of purple lights. It is the season, you know. So anyways, thank you guys, those of you that are joining me live for Get Crackin' on Christmas, or maybe you're catching the replay. It is October 22nd when I am live right now, and I don't know where September went. I don't know how we're already at the end of October. But I do know that I'm so glad that I have been making a few holiday cards every month all year long, because I have a nice stack of holiday cards ready to go. However, I know that there are many of you that maybe don't enjoy creating holiday cards throughout the year, or have maybe been procrastinating a little bit. So the theme of today's Get Crackin' on Christmas is more about, let's chat about mass producing, how you can take a design and quickly make a bunch of them, how to even come about with a design that is doable to mass producing. Sometimes that's actually really hard for me because I don't like to mass produce cards. And so a lot of the times I'll make one card and just kind of go all in and have so much fun and get lost in the process. And it takes hours and hours, which is fine, but not what you want to have happen when you want to get a stack of holiday cards done. So if you're new to Get Crackin' on Christmas, I always post my project on the third Thursday of the month over on my website, shirkus.com. It's linked as a pinned link in the chat if you're here live. It's also in the caption of the video. I share the supplies, I share more detailed images, and then always on that third Thursday of the month, I share when I'm going to go live and share the process with you. Part of that is so that maybe you can get some tips and tricks and learn some new things. But also, I would encourage you guys, if you're watching the replay or watching live, now is a great time to start working on your own holiday cards. You could color in some images, you could die cut some sentiments, whatever it is while you're watching me. And if you are sharing holiday cards, feel free to use the hashtag #GetCracking-on-Christmas. You do not need to make the same exact cards that I'm making. That is not the point. The point is to use what you have and just get cracking. All right. So I am going to flip the camera. I think I'm going to flip the camera. It has been busy. And I've been hearing this from a lot of people. It's a busy time of year, you guys. I was teaching in Michigan this past weekend at Scrappy Chic, which is always a really fun time. Absolutely love going to visit there. And then this weekend, I'm heading to Connecticut, which is drivable, but still away from home. And I'm going to be teaching at Papercraft Clubhouse. I'm teaching some exclusive Lawn Fawn card classes. So If you're in the Connecticut area and you'd love to come join me, last I knew, there's a couple spots left in Sunday's classes. Would absolutely love, love, love for you to join me. But on top of all of that, I am busy getting ready for my in-person Creative Journey Art Retreat here on Cape Cod in November. We got some really fun plans. Josie's been helping me as well. If you're interested in doing the virtual Creative Journey Art Retreat, at the time of this broadcast, there was one seat left. One. So if you're on the fence, you will want to register for that like now, like pop off the live and go register. And then also getting ready to share details for registration for my Crop on the Cape event, which is in March. Over 300 people attend that event, and registration will be opening up in early November. So I've been trying to get everything all ready for that. So it's been crazy. Right before I went live, I quickly shoved the whole mess that was behind my room and on my desk that away. And we're going to have some fun. So I don't know if you guys saw, Christina Werner, a friend of mine, is now designing for Concord and Ninth. And I absolutely love, love, love her style. I always have. A little fun fact for you. She helped me with the handwriting on my logos for the Creative Journey Art Retreat and Crop on the Cape. So the scripty handwriting is Christina Werner's. And so I always love her style, and I honestly love Concord and Ninth. I don't get to play with them as much as I would like to. And that's another fun thing about Get Crackin' on Christmas. I can justify purchasing some new supplies because I am making holiday cards every month. So I'm going through my stash and using items I've never used before. And honestly, my never used before holiday stash is getting pretty low. So I treated myself. I purchased some of the new goodies from Concord and Ninth. So we are going to be creating this card today. And as I am creating it, I'm going to chat with you a little bit about mass producing and some tips and tricks for you when you do want to make a stack of the same cards. And this will also work for birthday cards. I know many people like to kind of make the same design for birthdays for the whole year. Thank you cards. Maybe you want to make some card sets as gifts for the holiday season. That would be really fun as well. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me on in the background. I appreciate that. And yeah, Shari is reminding me we're going to be live next week as well on Lawn Fawn's YouTube channel for Adventures in Card Making. So it's a busy time. Nikki says she's bought the nutcrackers, but she hasn't used them yet. Yes, I loved the nutcrackers. Awesome. Yay. Tamara thinks that she might have that last spot. Tamara is in the Netherlands, and she was asking if I ship worldwide, and I most certainly do for my virtual Creative Journey Art Retreat. I've shipped all over the world, Canada, all over Europe. I've shipped to Thailand, South Africa, and this time I'm actually shipping to Israel. So all over. If you are interested in the virtual Creative Journey Art Retreat and it is sold out, you can always send me an email to creative-chick@shirkus.com. And if there are any extra kits after we kind of put everything together, I can let you know about that. All right. Yes. Shari says, oh, she doesn't have to make 100 cards for her dad this year. Oh my gosh. Wow. Every year, Shari makes handmade holiday cards for her dad to give away or to send to his customers and his clients. So tip number one, if we want to mass produce a card, what I suggest, and this actually goes for any time you have crafty time and you're going to sit down and create something, is to hone in and limit your supplies. And this is hard to do, right? Because it is really fun to buy all of the things. But if we have a bunch of items that are kind of just sitting there in a pile, um, it's daunting to choose what to use and what not to use. And if you have too much, it's just super overwhelming and you tend to create less. So, what I like to do, because I obviously do have a lot of supplies, is anything new that I get, I keep in kind of a new bin. And that way I don't organize it or file it away. That way I kind of, anytime I'm ready to be creative or that those creative juices are flowing, I'll flip through that new bin. And sometimes when you're flipping through the new bin, you might find an item that reminds you of something you've previously bought, and then you can go and find that item as well. But you want to limit your supplies. And that's what I talk about this a lot when I share projects from Simon Says Stamps card kit. It's nice to get a kit all together, and I try really hard when I design with that kit to only use what's given in the box. Minus your regular adhesives and obviously Prisma glitter and Quickie glue pen. But I try to just stick to that. And honestly, with less supplies in front of you, more ideas will come about. So that's tip number one when you want to mass produce a project. I also think it's really nice to stick to one style or one brand. And, you know, I love to mix and mingle brands, but when you're maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, sticking to one will kind of help alleviate that that confusion or of knowing where to go. So that's specifically what I did this time. I did not, besides like cardstock, I stuck to the order I got from Conquer Tonight that I placed. So today we're going to use a Winter Berries stem, the layering dies from Christina Warner and Conquer Tonight. And that was my other tip. When you get into die cutting, you want to keep it to be simple die cutting. All right. And so just keep that in mind. All right. There are some holiday dies that I have that are very, very involved. And those are fun to make holiday cards for one or two people, but not if you want to do a stack of cards. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start die cutting all those pieces, get overwhelmed, run out of time, and then it's going to kind of be wasted. You're probably not going to finish those cards. Backdrop dies like this that kind of add a lot of detail to your cards in one swoop, one motion through your die cut machine is really, really awesome. Having a variety sentiment stamp set. So maybe even though you're going to make 25 of these cards, everybody could get different sentiments, and that's really, really fun. Okay. And then another tip is when you have a die set that includes a lot of pieces, like this Festive Blooms die set, don't feel like you have to use all those pieces right away, right? Or don't feel you have to use all those pieces on one card. So for this die, I absolutely love it. And I know that you guys are going to see it again in a Get Crackin' on Christmas card for sure. But all I used out of it was the banner die. That's it. I kept it simple. So those are some tips and tricks for you. Now, the other tip and trick is to keep your coloring at a minimum. And this is coming from the girl that absolutely loves to color. I think you guys all know that. And I love to watercolor as well, but keep it to a minimum because that also takes up a lot of time. So today I am going to watercolor, but it's such simple watercoloring. It will happen very quickly if I'm doing a bunch of them. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Another tip for you guys, if you do love the look of coloring, but you want to limit your coloring because it takes up more time, is to check out Lawn Fawn's coloring stencils. Using the Lawn Fawn coloring stencils, I demoed them this past weekend in my classes at Scrappy Chic, and have used them quite a few times. Makes coloring so quick and easy, and it's awesome when you want to mass produce cards. So definitely check those out as well. Okay. So just to get started, and we'll keep chatting about tips and tricks, but I do want to get started so I'm not just talking at you. But what I did is using this the Winter Berries stem layering dies, and most of the supplies are linked in the description of the video, and they are linked over on my website, which I have pinned in the comments as well. But what I did is I die cut the background out of watercolor cardstock, so it's distress watercolor cardstock, and we are just going to simply add some green and some red with distress watercolor pencils. Super, super simple. We don't need to um, spend a lot of time figuring out what we're watercoloring. We're not going to shadow anything. Right now, I'm just using the Candied Apple Distress Watercolor Pencil, and I'm adding some color to the berries. Super, super simple. Again, no shading, nothing. I'm just adding some color. Now, this would be really, really pretty die cut out of metallic gold cardstock, and then the top layer cut out of the gold sparkle cardstock that I did. And then you wouldn't need to do any coloring, right? Or it would probably be pretty out of like a pixie dust iridescent sparkle cardstock. Um, and again, that would even limit the time that I'm taking right now to have two different colors. All right. Yeah, Shari has done a lot of mass producing for her dad over the years. I guess, Shari, I didn't realize that your dad retired. Um, Maybe you told me that, but I'm not remembering it. So I apologize. So now I am grabbing a little rustic wilderness. I think this is a darker green than I originally used. I think that I originally used peeled paint, but we're going to go for classic, traditional holiday colors. This doesn't happen often for me, you guys. Um, I'm a pink and lime green holiday card girl. Most of you already know that about me. So, you know, write this date down. We're doing classic, traditional red and green. Like, who am I right now? It's so funny. I can hear the ducks outside. So we have conservation land behind our home, and it's an old non-working cranberry bog. So is some water. And the ducks were here this spring. All the couples, I saw them. There were like 5 different couples. And then they disappeared. They didn't have their babies here. And now they're back. So I was a little disappointed that they didn't have their babies here. I really wanted to see their babies. I am going to just heat set this a little bit because those berries are still really wet. So you can see it's starting to run into the green. So if you wanted to mass produce this and you wanted to watercolor, because this is very, very simple watercoloring, what I would recommend you do is go through, and let's say you're going to make a set of 25, you go through and you watercolor all the berries first and set them aside. And then you probably won't even need to heat set them. And then by the time you get done the 25 and go back to the first one, the berries are going to be dry, and you can go in and color your green leaves, which is what I'm doing right now. Nikki says if I put it on a card base, she knows I'm going to be abducted by aliens, or I have been abducted. Nikki, it is going to go on a card base today. I try really hard with my holiday cards to put them on card bases because my future self thanks myself for doing that. So that I'm not dealing with that extra step when I'm getting my holiday cards ready to go out. It was so funny when I was at Scrappy Chic this weekend, my card samples for class, they were on my clips that I display them on, not on card bases, unless they had to be. Like we did an interactive card, and that one had to be on a card base. Samples, I bring samples, and they were in a bin. Most of them weren't on card bases. Oh boy. I've gotten much better, but I still have a lot of room for improvement. Let's just leave it at that. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Shari's dad's now retired and working at Ace Hardware. I love that. Oh my gosh, yeah. After owning your own business, I can totally appreciate that. When I used to manage the paper crafting store, I didn't manage it, but I didn't own it, but I was very much involved in the day-to-day decisions. And when the store closed for a few years, I worked at Providence College. And it was the first time in my life I worked for a job that at 5 o'clock, I wasn't expected to do anything off hours on the weekends, holidays. It was crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. Now I own my own business and that's all gone away. um, can I ask what the fuzzy dots are on the Falalala card? Flocking cardstock. So Kathy, we're going to get to that. And it's distressed rock candy, but we will get to that for sure. So you can see I just did very quick watercoloring. I honestly am not super concerned how it looks because once we start to layer everything together, it's going to look pretty fabulous. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I already pre-die cut out the frame. This is out of Lawn Fawn Gold Sparkle cardstock. We are just going to adhere this to the back layer. Now, another tip, if you are mass producing, it's a little bit of an added expense. But if you die cut this layer out of like Lawn Fawn, the 6x8 adhesive sheets, then this essentially becomes a sticker and it's much quicker and easier to add to your back layer. So another tip, I think if I was making a bunch of these, I would 100% do that because the money spent on the adhesive sheets would well be worth it. For now, I just added a little bit of Lawn Fawn glue tube. We are going to set this in place. I like to use a wet adhesive because there will be some wiggle time. And then I'm just going to take an acrylic block and set it on it just so it kind of flattens out and sets. And I'm just going to set this aside. Okay, so now we're talking about the background of our card. And again, it doesn't need to be complicated. And so using a backdrop die or a background die is a really great way to add a lot of visual interest to your card without a lot of work. I'm going to run this through the die cut machine once and it's going to be ready to go. So what I did is I took this and I added craft cardstock. And my cardstock is cut to size. I don't want it to wiggle at all. So I'm just going to take a little piece of Best Ever craft tape just to hold it in place. And we're going to go ahead and die cut this. So you guys might have saw on my Instagram stories, I have had the Spellbinders Platinum machine for several years, but I had the teal mermaid Jane Davenport machine and I absolutely loved it, but it was starting to feel its age. It was getting really rickety. So I recently treated myself to a new Spellbinders Platinum machine. And oh my gosh, cranking the handle on this puppy is so nice. After, again, I just had the mermaid one lasted me many, many years and many, many die cutting adventures. But I treated myself to a new machine and it's very exciting. So we have Fa La 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 La, and I just kind of plop it on the ground to see if we can get all those little bits out. Okay. And then what we're going to do next is die cut just a few of these with gold sparkle cardstock. Now, if you were to be mass producing this, sorry, I lost my train of thought. If you were going to be making several of these, then I would recommend die cutting this whole thing because you're going to need a lot of Fa La 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 Las, right? But I only really need a little grouping of Fa La 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 Las. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut a little square out. Yay! Christine says she has similar supplies that she can already see herself getting out to use to create something similar. I absolutely love that. That's my hope with these Get Crackin' on Christmases, you guys. I mean, I love to enable you. That's no lie. But I really, 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 really want you guys using what you already have, right? Shopping your supplies, seeing what you have that's similar that you can do a similar look with. Of course, once in a while, you're going to want to treat yourself to something new. But for the most part, I want you guys to use what you have. Let's see. I meant the pink fuzzy flowers. I saw the gold. It's Distress Rock Candy, Kathy, and I am going to share that with you as we get going, but that's what that is. Okay. So I got this Scout too. I have not used the Scout yet. So you guys, I absolutely love this season that I'm in right now. It's filled with so much fun, so many classes and designing and everything. However, when we moved here in February, I just quickly set this room up just enough to function, just enough to get my work done. So I'm very, very excited for December and January because I'm going to really dive in to finishing, setting up this room, getting things situated more and more permanent. And so long story short, I have not broken out the Scout out of its box yet. Just because I just feel very disheveled right now. So it'll come. It will come. All right. Hello, Tina. Thanks for popping in. Happy you're here. We are doing Get Crackin' on Christmas. It's a fun series I do once a month. So what I'm doing, again, I just wanted to cut out some of these Fa La 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 Las. And so I'm going to set them aside. Okay. Got it. And then we have our craft cardstock that we already die cut. I'm going to set that aside. And we're going to start to bring this card together. Now, another tip for you guys is using textured cardstock really allows for some, I'm going to try to get it to show up on camera. It really allows for some really fun detail. And the fact that I'm mixing smooth, glittered wood grain It's very, very simple, but it adds just like a little something something. So this is Lawn Fawn white wood grain cardstock. See? And so we are going to put that on the background of our card base, Nikki, of our card base. Look at me go. Using card base. So proud of me. So if you're new to me, I'm really, really bad about getting my card fronts onto card bases. So when I do, it's like I deserve a gold star. Shari says that she has a Scout, but she's not nearly as helpful with die cutting. Her dog is Scout, which is so cute. Hello. Thanks, Paula, for popping on. And now I want to add a little bit of a white border to my card. So what I'm going to do is trim this craft cardstock down. I could have done this ahead of time for sure. And that would definitely save time, again, if I was creating many of the same card. But I'm just in such a habit of doing it at the time of creating. So I'm just taking off approximately 1/8 of an inch off of all 4 sides so that this is now 4 by 5 1/4. All right. And I'm just going to use my Lawn Fawn glue tube, and I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back here. You don't need to add it everywhere. It'll be enough. I just want to make sure I have some on my edges. Again, you could use those adhesive sheets in this case if you wanted to. You could also pop this layer up. This die would be really cute used for a shaker card. Excuse me, a shaker card. I talked so much this weekend. I find that my voice is a little off this week. Okay. So I just want this to come in a little bit on my background. And a couple little pats. All right, hopefully I'm not missing any of your questions. I know Brienne's in the chat and she's so good at linking all of the things. Oh no, Linda, please feel better. So my nails need a new polish. They're a little chipped right now, and I was gonna try to polish them before my live, and it just didn't happen. But I actually have it right here. So this is Olive and June Plaza, which is a really, really pretty color. Very fall, but they just need a little bit of love. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside, right? And we have our berries. We're gonna set this aside, and we have our gold falalas, and we're gonna set those aside. So now what I'm gonna do is work on the sentiment banner. May your Christmas be joyful and bright. And so for that, I used some Lawn Fawn chili pepper cardstock, which is a really good red cardstock. If you're looking for some red cardstock for your holiday card making stash. I love it. Sarah just said this might be the first time she's ever seen me put a card on a card base. Oh boy, you guys. You're too much. You are too much. All right, so I am going to die cut this banner. And then we are going to do a little bit of white embossing. Yeah, this sentiment set is so cute. And it's great with the banner, but I also think it'd be really cute on its own too. You could kind of have a little wavy sentiment under your focal point of your card. And this banner die is really cute, how it's just very simple to put together this little wavy banner. That's super fun. All right, so we are going to do a little bit of white embossing. And I just remembered I have stuff in my MISTI from other cards I was designing. Oh boy. Let's just get this out of here. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of white embossing, which I think looks really nice for the holidays on red cardstock like this. And so I'm putting my banner in my MISTI. I need to clean my grip mat, so that's a hot mess as well. And so on the original card, I did May Your Christmas Be Joyful and Bright. This time, I think I'm going to do just Merry Christmas. Let's switch it up because there are so many fun options in here. Shari says, embossing and mass producing, negative on that for me. Yeah, I could see this probably being the most time consuming part. However, black ink probably wouldn't look great on red. What you could do is lightly watercolor a red wash for the banner and then do some black stamping. That would be really cute. Anytime I am white embossing, I like to prep my cardstock with the Rabbit Hole Designs Cottontail Powder Tool. This is getting any of the oils off the cardstock, and this is going to help so that we don't have any static cling. And then anytime I'm white embossing, I like to use a white pigment ink pad. And so I am going to ink up my stamp and stamp a couple times with the white pigment ink. Now, I'm not pressing hard, but you figure the first time you stamp, some of that ink is absorbing into the cardstock. And so if you stamp a couple times, the ink is going to build up on the surface, and that way it will hold on to the powder better. So Marcy says, question, why have a MISTI and a mini MISTI? So that's a good question. I actually use my mini MISTI the most. I use this literally the most. For almost all of the stamps that I stamp, it fits in the mini MISTI, and it's just easy because it takes up less space, because let's be honest, my desk is usually really messy. And I love having the regular sized MISTI for larger stamp images. A lot of what I do when I design with Tim Holtz stamps, big backgrounds, things like that. Sometimes you want to stamp off the edge of your card background. So having a larger MISTI is great for that. But I really use my mini MISTI the most. All right, so I just took this off and I'm adding the white embossing powder. This is Brutus Monroe Alabaster White. This is my favorite white embossing powder. And you can see I don't really have any static cling except for where my finger was just holding on. So I'm just going to tap, just tapping the edge with the spoon, which is a hard surface on a hard surface, just like I do when I'm using my Quickie glue pen. But you can see there's literally no static cling because I use that embossing powder tool. There's a teeny dot right here. So I'm just going to take a paintbrush and wipe that away. But there's no extra mess, okay? And so now we are going to emboss this. I like to turn my embossing gun on for a couple seconds before I put it onto the banner. Having a mini MISTI versus a larger MISTI does not make your stamping clearer or not. They're both essentially the same. It's just the size of stamps that you like to use or are using. So if somebody's going to buy a MISTI tool for the first time, I always encourage them to buy the regular sized MISTI because that's going to work with essentially any of your stamps. And then maybe down the road, for convenience, having a smaller MISTI is nice. All right. And there we go, you guys. My tweezers don't want to let go, but now we have a nice white embossed stamp sentiment, right? And something that you might not know to help you mass produce with whites embossing is once you get that embossing powder on there, the pigment ink takes quite a while to dry. So you could do probably like 5 sentiments at once before you heat it. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Again, trying to think of how you can mass produce and do things in a little bit of an assembly mode will really help. Okay, so now our card is going to come together. The first thing that I want to do is I'm going to add my little gold fa la 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 pieces. And I'm going to use some foam strips. I want them to kind of set up from the rest of my background. And the foam strips fit behind these letters really very nicely. So I'm just going straight down that vertical line on the F, and I'll do the same on the L. On the A, I think I'm going to do a foam square. But you don't need to necessarily fill the whole letter. So this kind of comes together quickly. Again, if we were making a stack of 20 of these, I would just sit and foam all the fa la 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 las that I needed. And then we have our A's. I'm wondering, I think a square. Yep, a square will fit right in the center there. Perfect. Brienne says, alert the authorities because I use tweezers too. I know. I'm actually thankful. This card is actually a little different style for me. I feel like I just knocked something on the floor. Oh, I did. The stamp set. But I'm actually thankful that it is a little bit of a different style because most of my most used tools are still in my suitcase from teaching in Michigan. So, and I'm trying not to unpack it because it's just going to Connecticut with me on Friday. So anyway, so now what I'm doing is just featuring a little cluster of this fa la 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 la, which I think is so cute. Really just highlighting a piece of this die. And it also kind of works into the sentiment of the card. Okay. And if you guys are looking for some more holiday inspiration to kind of get some cards made with some easy guidance and you are Lawn Fawn fans, I do have my upcoming online class, Tis the Cheese On, and it's using the new Cheesy Christmas stamp set, which is so cute. And with all of my online classes, really, you don't have to, put too much creative energy. You put creative energy into creating and not stressing about the designs of the cards. Plus, we go over the coloring with alcohol-based markers, and it really is just a ton of fun. So check that out. Scrappy Chic does create some kits that they'll ship to you. They are limited, and there weren't many kits left after I left there on Sunday or Saturday. But that makes it real easy too, because you don't have to have all the stamps and dies. But people often substitute their supplies as well. So we're going to tuck the little berry cluster right here. Now I just want to point out, you can kind of see where I went over with the green. We can quickly fix that. Honestly, we're going to be adding rock candy, so that will probably fix it enough. But you could go in, you don't want your brush to be super wet because we don't want it to be super soupy, but can go in with a little bit more red watercolor pencil, and it kind of just took that away and fixed that as well. Let's see. Aw, thanks, Pam. She says she still recognizes my style in it because of the mixed media and the sparkle. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like my style is kind of all over the place. So it's always fun for me when you guys will comment like, oh, I knew right away that was your card, Jen. And I was like, you did? You did? Oh, so for this banner, I just remembered how I put this together before. So the banner is really easy to put together. I'm just going to take one of the little tails and you just go off to the edge and drop it down a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is just flip this over and just put a foam square half on, half off. That'll just hold it in place for now. We'll work on it a little bit more in a second. And the same thing with this side. You want to go over a little bit and drop it down a little bit. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put a foam square that just holds them in place. Then, because I want my whole sentiment popped up, I'll go to town with putting some foam tape behind here. Okay. Sarah was sharing that she's watching while she's working, but she's really not working. I won't tell on you, Sarah, and none of your crafty friends that are here today will tell on you either. Okay, this is kind of a mess of how to put it's like foam tape going every which way, but it's fine. Nobody's going to see it behind the scenes, right? But I was just showing you, I don't worry about gluing with any wet adhesive or dot runner. I just find it real easy to kind of place a foam square to hold those tails on. There's no need to, do any extra adhesive. All right, so we have our cute little banner, and I'm going to have it kind of cover where the end of this sprig falls. Just like so. Oh my gosh, I just think it's so cute, you guys. I really do. Do you know what I just realized is this card piece is longer than my card base, and I never noticed it. And now if I trim it, it's going to go right against the craft. I think I'm just going to leave it. This is my problem. I'm not used to putting things on card bases. So look what happens when I do, you guys. Look what happens. All right, the last little thing that I did was I added some Distress rock candy to my berries. Spoiler alert, I tried doing something so that they'd be nice and dimensional. I actually did one layer of glossy accents. I let it dry. Then I did another layer of glossy accents that I put the rock candy into while it was wet. it didn't really work the way I wanted it to. So we're not doing that this time. We are just going to use some Distress Collage Medium. I'm going to fill in my berries generously. You want to use a wet adhesive when using Distress Rock Candy. The Quickie glue pen is not strong enough to hold on to the chunk of rock candy or chunky glitter. But you want to use a nice wet adhesive, and I'll just show this, that I was very generous with the amount of, see that, glossy or Distress Collage Medium. And I store my rock candy in a glitter storage container, just like I do with my Prismaglitter. But I don't like to dip because there's so much wetness. It's going to kind of, the weight of the glitter will move your wet adhesive. So in this case, I do like to spoon my glitter onto the adhesive. And I don't do this with Prismaglitter, but I do with rock candy. Rock candy, touching it, it's not going to be part of your life for the next 6 months. Prismaglitter, I never touch it. So I just leave my spoon in here and it's good to go. And so we're going to tap this off. And Distress Collage Medium is cloudy while it's wet, but it will dry clear. And it just has a really nice little frosted sparkle. It's not too much. It's just really nice. Just enough, right? So Laura just asked, what's the difference between Collage Medium and Glossy Accents? So I was using Glossy Accents originally because Glossy Accents will really keep its shape and its dimension. So like I said, for my original card, I did 1 layer of Glossy Accents very generously. And I could have just left it like that. They would have been shiny berries, which would have been super, super cute. But then I wanted to get a little fancy. So I did a second, once it was dry, I did a second layer of Glossy Accents. And then I put my Distress Rock Candy on here. But I didn't tap it off. And the weight of the rock candy kind of flattened my dimension. But so to answer your question, the difference between Collage Medium and Glossy Accents. Glossy Accents has a shine to it. And it really keeps its dimension than Collage Medium. So hopefully that helps. Collage Medium dries matte and it doesn't keep shape, doesn't keep dimension as much. So I use both, it just depends. But yeah. And so that is it, you guys. So again, hopefully you got some tips and tricks and ideas to kind of spark those creative juices flowing. Again, it is the end of October. So if you haven't already started your holiday cards, I mean, I don't want to put the pressure on you, but it really, really is time to get cracking. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be back the 3rd Thursday of November. I will post my project. And then I'll announce when I will be live again. And hopefully you guys will join me. Nikki says, can you beg Tim to make Distress Rock Candy stickles again? Please. I know. I loved Distress Rock Candy stickles. I think it was tea dye was like the best for beachy sand. It was the best. And you can make your own colored rock candy. He shared that many times on his YouTube, but it's just not the same. That's the one stickles I really do miss. It was like a chunky stickles. But thank you guys so much. Oh, yay, Linda. I'll see you Sunday at Papercraft Clubhouse. I know I'm going to see Laura too, because she already emailed me a question. Definitely. I know lunchtime flew by real quick, right? Look at me go. So thank you guys so much. Please, please, please check out my website. If you're not already subscribed to my email newsletter, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Thank you guys. Have a fabulous rest of your Tuesday, and we'll get together again soon. Bye, guys.